When Clara Holloway received the unexpected letter, she was sure it was a mistake. It was sealed in wax, stamped with a symbol she didn't recognize. 2 crows perched atop an old key. Inside was a single page written in a careful, looping hand. Miss Clara Holloway, you are the sole heir to the estate of Enoch Blackridge, your late great-uncle. The property lies on the outskirts of Alderbrook. We request your presence immediately to discuss the transfer of ownership. Clara had never heard of Enoch Blackridge. Her family never spoke of distant relatives, and her parents were long gone. But curiosity outweighed reason. With little holding her back in the city, she packed a bag and took the evening train to Alderbrook. The estate was unlike anything she'd imagined. The Blackridge house stood shrouded in mist, its Gothic architecture rising like bones from the damp earth. The iron gates creaked open on their own, and the scent of wet leaves and something older, like mold and memory, hung heavy in the air. The lawyer, Mr. Harrow, was waiting for her inside. He was pale, thin, and wore gloves even indoors. He handed her a set of heavy brass keys. "The house is yours," he said. "But a warning, Miss Holloway. Do not wander the East Wing after dark. That side has history." Clara tried to ask more, but Harrow excused himself. She was left alone in the house that now belonged to her. The first night was uneventful, mostly. The floorboards creaked under her footsteps, and the cold made her bones ache. She explored the West Wing, finding old portraits with scratched-out eyes and furniture covered in thick white sheets. But around midnight, a strange sound echoed from the East Wing, a soft tapping, like fingers drumming on wood. She ignored it. At least she tried to. By the third night, the tapping had grown louder. Clara stood at the threshold of the East Wing, the door locked and the keyhole cold. When she leaned close, she swore she heard whispers, too faint to understand, but undeniably human. She forced herself to walk away. But sleep would not come. In her dreams, she saw a man with no eyes standing at the foot of her bed. His mouth was sewn shut, but the whispers still came. Beneath the floorboards, dig. The next morning, she did something reckless. Clara returned to the East Wing, key in hand. Against all warnings, she unlocked the door. It opened with a slow groan, revealing a long hallway of rotting wallpaper and broken chandeliers. At the end was a locked room. She found a loose board just beneath the faded rug and began to pry it up. Beneath the floorboards, she discovered a hidden compartment. Inside it, an old journal. Bound in cracked leather, the name inside read, Enoch Blackridge, 1876. The last entry chilled her. "I buried her where she cannot speak, but her silence grows louder every night. The house listens. And soon so will she." Clara couldn't move. She stared at the journal in her trembling hands, the last words of her great-uncle Enoch Blackridge echoing in her mind. "I buried her where she cannot speak, but her silence grows louder every night." Suddenly, the East Wing no longer felt empty. It felt alive. The walls groaned like they were breathing. Dust swirled in unnatural patterns. And beneath the floorboards, that tapping returned, faster now. Desperate. The hidden room. Driven by equal parts fear and obsession, Clara followed the journal's entries deeper into the house's forgotten corridors. Pages spoke of a sealed chamber beneath the East Wing, the morning room. Enoch called it. He had built it to contain his guilt. And something else. Clara found a hatch hidden beneath a crumbling tapestry. It opened with a rusty scream, revealing a narrow stairway descending into darkness. She lit a candle and stepped inside. The air grew colder with each step. At the bottom, the room opened into a circular chamber with stone walls. Chains hung from the ceiling, and in the center stood an old iron cradle, rusted and filled with dried, blackened roses. Etched in the wall were words in Latin. Vox tacita, the silent voice. Clara suddenly felt watched. Her candle flickered wildly. The voice returns. A whisper rose from the shadows, soft, mournful. It wasn't coming from the walls. It came from beneath her. Clara dropped to her knees and brushed away dust from the stone floor. The journal had said buried, not sealed. She grabbed a nearby iron rod and began digging. Moments later, her rod struck wood. A child-sized coffin. Clara hesitated, but the tapping grew louder, insistent. She opened the lid. Inside was the skeleton of a small girl, dressed in a faded lace gown. Her skull was tilted upward, her mouth sewn shut with black thread. Clara wept. She didn't know why, but she felt an unbearable grief. A memory not hers. Then the skeleton moved. The unspoken curse. Clara stumbled back. The girl sat up, head tilted as if listening. And then, with a horrifying snap, the threads on her mouth broke apart. She screamed, no sound. And then Clara screamed, not from her throat, but from within her mind. Help me. I remember now. He was my father. He silenced me. But now we share the same blood. You can hear me. You can free me. The house trembled violently. Portraits shattered upstairs. The whispers turned to screams. Clara knew what she had to do. She carried the tiny remains outside, beneath a weeping willow near the estate. As she dug a new grave, the voice faded from her mind, replaced by peace. As she laid the girl to rest, the sky cracked open with light. The house behind her released a long, aching sigh. Epilogue: a house no longer listening. Clara stayed in Alderbrook. She repaired the house, opened it to visitors, turned it into a quiet inn for artists and lost souls. But she never reopened the East Wing. Not out of fear, out of respect. And every year, on the first night of autumn, a child's laugh echoes through the willow trees. No more tapping. No more whispers. Only peace.